We finally made it last video, how to create boundaries in people pleasing. So why is this important? Well, simply for the fact that we have a limited amount of time and energy in our day. So also with the simple fact that boundaries can shift the focus back onto ourselves so that we can become more in alignment with our values and desires, right? And so when this happens, we practice intention and repetition to our habits, right? Our routines, self-care, and internal dialogue. So barriers that can stand in our way, right? Over obligation and taking on too many responsibilities, right? Never being able to say no, right? And so sometimes it's lack of structure throughout the day, right? You're not planning out your day, prioritizing what needs to get done. And then sometimes it's just instant gratification over long-term goals. So sometimes it's just like you want that. We live in a world where we want it now, right? We can pull, this little cell phone out of our pocket and basically get anything we want at any point in time versus the thinking of the trajectory or what we're really doing long-term. And so, keep that in mind. Instant gratification over long-term goals, big barrier. And then fear of rejection and non-acceptance. Like, what if I say no? Are they going to like me? They can be upset, right? And so over obligation, right? We all have responsibilities and we often do say yes when we should just say no. And so when we take on tasks or duties that are outside of our scope, and could potentially be dealt with by someone who's better, right? Or we can delegate those things out. Example, like during the holidays, right? Instead of prepping all the food and having it be perfect, right? Cater in some food, right? And then you don't have to do it all yourself. Make sense? Or the fear of not being in control and trusting others. So if we're stuck in the quote, if you want it done right, do it yourself type mentality, which I'm guilty of sometimes, then this is something that needs to change. And then other internal obligations, right? Some internal questions you should ask yourself, right? Am I taking on too much to feel like I have purpose or to feel valued? What if I'm doing it and it's a better fit for someone else? Can this actually wait? And so what I always like to do to not overload myself is do a brain dump, write everything on a piece of paper, list out 50 things and then pick your top 10. And then push back what can wait till next week, what needs to get done this week. Pick your top 10 things that need done this week. And maybe it's structure or lack thereof. And so without structure in our day, there's no boundaries. And so whether it's staying up too late on Netflix, scrolling through the Facebook feed, or just talking with friends, there needs to be some boundaries. And before you know it, obviously it gets way too late and you get shitty sleep, which in return affects everything else. Your work performance suffers, your weight, and your mental well-being. And so saying yes to too many people, things can be like short-sighted. So when it comes to like actually doing them, at the end of the day, you're like, man, I should have wish I would have said no. I didn't realize how much time and energy this was actually going to take. And so think about that, right? You can just press pause. Ask yourself, is this something I really want to commit to? How's it going to influence other areas of my life that I'm trying to focus on? And, if I am going to commit to this, why is it a good idea? More importantly, why is it not a good idea? So run through that cycle before saying yes. And maybe there's a fear of rejection or acceptance. And so people pleasing comes down to wanting to belong, feel accepted, and validated. That way we know we are of importance. And so often in a state, in a lack of acceptance and love is when we look for outside sources to fill up our cup. And so how do we get out of this cycle, right? We have to choose to be supreme individuals and not allow opinions of others to become our own. And so gain acceptance, positive self-image, and start to have love for ourselves, right? We get to play our own game versus comparing other people and playing their game. And so, yeah, it's definitely uncomfortable at first, right? But it's going to take practice. You're going to ask yourself, will they get mad? What will they think? What am I going to miss out on? Stop asking yourself those questions. Like what other people think is none of your business. And so you are your number one asset, right? And so the more you can show up for yourself, then your life will become so much better in so many ways. We'll catch you guys next time.